and welcome back to the Sports Fix here on Flow FM. We are winding down the show this evening with our last segment, and it's a records holder from the Liberty A-Leagues, a records holder with games. Her name is Georgia Campagnale, a legend from Adelaide United's women's team. Georgia, great to have you on the Sports Fix. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, of course, fans close to Adelaide United and the A-League's women's competition will be very familiar with who you are, but you have since stepped away from the game. So just talk to us about what it's been like watching, I guess, as a fan these days when you've been so heavily involved for so many years.
Yeah, it's obviously been very different without that whole training and travelling commitment that you have with Adelaide United. But it's been great to step away from the game and obviously from the team and watch them, make finals for the first time in, I think it was 14 seasons. So I'm really happy to see how the team progressed this year. Obviously, it was a very different season and very hard with managing with COVID as well. And so what I know, the girls, took that on board and quite flexible, which is always hard to be, particularly when it's not your first primary income. But they've all stepped up and now they're playing finals, which is a great thing that they've done this year.
Absolutely. The Adelaide United women's team making the finals, as you say, for the first ever time in their history under Adrian Stenter. We'll talk a little bit more about your time there later on in the interview, Georgia. But just looking at how things have wrapped up in the current A-League's Liberty women's competition this year, we had Sydney FC finishing first on the table, Melbourne City in second, Adelaide United, your former side, in third, Melbourne Victory, they're always strong, finishing fourth this time round. That rounds out our finals competition. We did have some games taking place across the weekend too. So we'll just go through a few of those results. We had Melbourne City beating Western Sydney away from home. Policina and Wilkinson on the score sheet for Melbourne City there. They've always been the benchmark of, I guess, the women's competition for many years, Georgia. So from your experiences, obviously, you'd know a lot of Melbourne City players. There's been a lot of players going between both clubs across the time that Melbourne City have been involved in the competition, so you'd be aware of how good they are.
Yeah, Melbourne City have always been, they've always set that benchmark for that professionalism on or off the field as well from the moment that they came into the A-League women. A lot of good players in the past have played for them. I remember Kim Little, who's now at Arsenal, used to play for Melbourne City. They used to have, I think, majority of the Matildas at one stage as well. So they've always had high-quality players, and I think now what they do have is really good local players, which is great to see them getting an opportunity now to play at, a bigger stage where they can be seen as well. But they've definitely have always set the standard for the professionalism within the league, which I think has forced other clubs to, have higher standards for their female players, which is really great.
Absolutely. Now, Melbourne Victory, they drew a blank playing Canberra United. On the eve of finals, when you've qualified for the finals, Georgia, would you be somewhat in any way fixated on this result, or is it all about just getting the game done and then looking forward to the finals?
I don't think you should, as a player, I wouldn't be fixated, that you probably should have won a game, but you didn't. I would just now focusing on the finals. That's happened. They've qualified for finals. That's a positive in itself. I think what would be important for the Melbourne Victory girls now is to regroup and then focus on the positives of the game and then work on what they needed to improve on for the finals as well. So it definitely wouldn't, for me, it wouldn't faze me if, you drew a game where you should have won. I would then re-switch my mind saying, all right, finals now, it's a whole different ball game that we do know that finals can bring. Always, generally the underdog or the unknown can always win. So I think it's important that they change their mindset to now focus on the finals.
There we go. And just looking at your former club, who of course were more than likely involved in the game of the round that everyone was looking forward to across the weekend, playing Sydney FC at home. But Sydney FC getting up in this one thanks to a goal from Paige Satchell in the 61st minute. Does this put a bit of a hole in the balloon for Adelaide United's party, Georgia, because obviously we know that everyone there at the club who's involved in the first team women's setup is so thrilled and up and about to see the team finally qualify for finals after what's been a horrendous run of, underachievement at times, and at other times a lot of a lack of luck there. But it's finally all come together, and losing right on the eve of finals at home when everyone was looking forward to seeing this team, I guess, front up and perform really well before the finals commenced. Has it put a hole in Adelaide United's balloon?
No, not at all. I think you can still take a lot of positives from their season. They made the finals, so that's just fantastic in itself. And Fiona finishing off with the highest goal scorer for the league as well, so that's another positive. Look, with, Sydney FC, they're a quality side and they have been for many years. And, to have the game that they did have yesterday, look, it was unlucky that they didn't, get a point out of the game or, get a win. But like I said, with the Melbourne victory, put that aside now, and finals footy is different. I mean, it's different in all codes of sport. Like, it's a different nerves, a different setting. You switch off from what you did during the season, and it's like starting a new season now, and you just have to prepare and make sure that everyone is back. Everyone's back playing. I don't think they had their full side yesterday. I think Nano wasn't playing. She was suspended from having too many yellows. So bringing back all your players, making sure everyone's fit and healthy and ready to go.
There we go. And obviously, you're still very close to this competition despite not playing anymore, Georgia. So looking at the finals, the way it's all poised, Sydney FC, Melbourne City, Adelaide United, Melbourne victory. I know you have a natural allegiance to one team, but how do you see this one playing out, and who do you think will take out the crown this year in the Liberty A-League's women's competition?
I think it'll actually be an Adelaide United Sydney final. I think Adelaide United will definitely make the grand final. I think they're playing some really good football at the moment, and they're in really good goal-scoring form with Chelsea Dorber and Fiona as well. To win it, I think it will be on the day. I'm hoping Adelaide United win it because I think that would be great, but it would just have to be on the day to see how they do perform, because finals brings a different game, different nerves. Other teams like Melbourne City and Sydney and even Victory are all, they've got a lot of experience in finals, whereas Adelaide United, there's not much of experience. But I think with the way the girls are playing and how Adrian has them set up, they'll definitely make a good shot for it to win.
There we go, and we'll switch our focus to you, Georgia. Obviously, an incredible CV, the records games holder for the Adelaide United women's team. Just talk to us about what kind of player you were, if you could define yourself and the way you went about it.
I think I was definitely a very versatile player. I could play a lot of positions. I think the only two positions I didn't play was centre back and probably forward, and of course goalkeeping. I was a terrible goalkeeper. I was definitely versatile, and I wouldn't say I was that teammate that would do, the box-to-box, that, the run and the tackle and setting it up. I wasn't always that player on the end, finishing the goal. I was more doing the back work for the goal scorer or for the other players. Definitely was just that hardworking player that loved to have a good team environment and, have a lot of fun with her teammates as well, and always trying to look for the positive sides, even though sometimes in the game it can be quite hard. Sometimes you get that little bit of white line fever, I believe.
Oh, yes, I think we've all been there. So when you started playing at Adelaide United, Georgia, obviously you probably didn't think in your head that you'd end up being the record games holder at a time. But, what was the journey like? And talk us through the happiest memories that you have being involved. I do note, obviously, that it might frustrate you a little bit to look back and think, geez, I was involved virtually more than anyone, or literally more than anyone, and I can't be there when they make the finals for the first time. But nevertheless, obviously, a great ride for you that you were on when you represented Adelaide United ever so diligently.
Yeah, obviously, I'm just so happy for the girls. I think it was building for a few years since Ivan Karlovic took over the whole program. And, we've had we've had a stable coaching staff. Early on in my career, I had great coaches, but it was constantly changing, whereas when I thought Ivan took over and then passed it on to Adrian, there was some at least stability in the coaching staff, and it was, able to build as well. So that was a positive there. It was a great experience. I've made friends, that live overseas in America. I've got friends within Iceland, all over the world. You just meet these people that you would have never met if you didn't play at this, this level in soccer. I got to travel around and I got to play against some of the best female players in the world as well. To play against all the Matildas. That was a great experience. It was a challenge, nevertheless, but it was just a fun experience. And, to play with some of your best friends as well is just something that I'll never forget. And it's a shame I never got to play finals, but was so happy for the girls when they made the final, something that we have deserved for a long time now. And, it's great, majority of the team being local girls, because I think that's something that, was building. We were all quite young, but now we're at that age where we're 24, 25, around there. We're strong, we're older, now we're more mature, and now it's showing on the field, which is really great.
Well, Georgia Campagnale, it's been so good to chat with you here on the Sports Fix. Great to get an insight there about your career too, and we really value your comments on how the Liberty A-League's women's competition looks set to unfold. It's been great speaking to you, Georgia Campagnale. All the best, and we'll have to get you back on soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Courtney and Ricky talking about a very important topic to close out our Sports Fix today. On the other end of this, don't go anywhere. See you on the other side.